I'm M. Sauter, better known as Pints and Panels.
And I'm Don Tse, better known as the Dawn of Beer.
Welcome to the 10th episode of the All About Beer podcast. Every 2 weeks, we talk with leading experts and take a deep dive into one topic in beer. This week, we're going to be talking about holiday drinking traditions, Christmas beers, all sorts of stuff. Our
Merry
guest
Christmas.
later, Merry Christmas! Oh my gosh! Happy holidays!
Yay!
Yay! We've got a guest later, Dane Volek of San Francisco's Anchor Brewing, which is famous for, among other things, their annual Christmas ale. But first, Don and I are going to talk about how much we love Christmas beers. Don, how much do you love Christmas beers?
I do love Christmas beers. I always like to say that I don't generally observe seasonality of beer, like people who only drink stouts in the winter or whatever. But
Sure.
Christmas beer would be the exception. I really only drink them at Christmas time, and I love them.
It's the reason
Yeah.
for the season. There's
Yeah,
something
exactly.
about Christmas beers that are just, so I was actually just at my local liquor store this morning picking up some fancy Christmas wine for Christmas Eve, but then also perusing the Christmas beer aisle, and it's always so vast. You know, you've got your classics, your Belgians, your St. Bernardus Christmas, your Delirium Noel, but then you also have some IPAs, some winter beers, some Christmas winter warmers. I mean, there's so much that's Christmassy about those
Yeah.
beers. Like, I don't know if some of it, sometimes it's just like, oh, it's a red and green can. But sometimes there's something about it. It just invokes, I bought a 6-pack of Sierra Nevada Celebration, which is a Christmas beer that's fresh hops. I mean, it's anything can be Christmas.
It's really it's not really a style, it's an ethos, right?
Yes,
And
agreed.
yeah, I love that it unleashes it's an opportunity for brewers to unleash their creative side, I think. So
Do you
yes.
have a favorite Christmas beer?
I do not. Oh, actually, that's not true.
I was going to say you've got it.
I'm a big fan of Glue Creek. That's GLUH, yeah, Creek. And I've only ever had two. Leafman's made one, maybe they still do. And then a brewery here in Canada called Unibrew used to make a beer called Quelque Chose is probably the more accurate pronunciation. It's also a Glue Creek, yeah.
What is Glue Creek for those who are unaware of that unique style?
Yeah, so Creek, of course, is cherries, reference to cherries, and the glue is just a reference to it being hot. So it is a hot cherry beer.
What?
Yes.
That's so interesting. My favorite Christmas beer. I love the Belgian for like St. Bernardus Christmas.
Oh yes, of course.
Corson Christmas. There's something real. I got to judge the Christmas beers at Brussels Beer Challenge this year, which was by the ninth beer. I forgot how to spell, but they were so good because I know they're just quads, but then there's something about them that's like a little spicy, like high alcohol, warming. And then I'm a huge fan of Sierra Nevada Celebration. And I love Trogs. The Trogs, is it the Mad Elf?
Mad Elf,
Love Mad Elf.
I have a question for you.
Yes.
In terms of holiday beers, do you like because you just named a whole bunch of them.
I know, I was going to say, I just love
I agree, and I agree with them all, but do you like the more Belgian style, the more English style, like winter warmer type of thing, or the American style, which is
American styles all over the place, a little spicy.
Yeah.
They kind of lean on some Christmas spices. There's like there's a gingerbread beer that Hardywood makes from Richmond, Virginia.
I've had that one.
Excellent. Yeah. Really good. Kind of a proto pastry stout. I love those dark Belgian beers, especially when it's dark where I live at 3:30 in the afternoon now. And yeah, which is like, what? Come on. And there's snow on the ground here in New England. We've got our fireplace going pretty much every night. It's a perfect time to open a high alcohol Belgian beer and it warms you. There's something about it that's just
right.
lovely.
You're not leaving the house anyways, so
no, it's too cold. It's like for centigrade for you, it's like below 0 centigrade, and with it's really windy here right now. So
Yeah.
it's chilly. And then, when I'm cold, I want quads. The winter of quad is actually a real thing in my home. And we drink a lot of quads, Chimay Blue, and then a lot of Christmas beers. It's great. I love it.
Yeah.
They're great for sharing too, especially if you get
Oh,
the larger format or even the small bottles, since it is high alcohol, sharing those beers with someone that you care about, just having a little, it's lovely. It's lovely.
I will say, I was not through any intelligence on my part, but I bought a couple of cases of that Unibrew quelque chose, and they stopped making it. I didn't know they were going to stop making it, but so I still have some. And when my wife and I were dating early on, one of the things I did to show her how cool beer is I heated up a bottle of quelque chose for her, and so
What
to
did
your
she
point,
think?
yeah, but to your point, just sharing.
Yeah. Did she like it?
Oh yeah, and
Oh,
so
okay.
I'm down to I think I have 3 or 4 bottles left. So we as kind of our own annual Christmas tradition, will share one bottle every
That's
year.
lovely. That's
Yeah.
so nice. I mean, our guest coming up, who we're going to talk to in a few minutes, loves to talk about the cellaring of Christmas beer, which a beer they've been making for 48, 49 years. So it's a great Christmas beer. Is also really vintage for the most part. I mean, there's a lot of IPAs out there now that are Christmassy, which are cool too, which are not for cellaring. But Christmas beers are great to lay down and have try a couple different years. And yeah, they're lovely.
Yeah.
We'll introduce our guest and get into a conversation. But first, if you'd like to help us support the All About Beer podcast, reach out to podcast@allaboutbeer.com. Dane Volek began his Anchor career in 2008 after working the packaging lines with occasional fermentation shifts over the weekend. After college and brewing at home, Dane accepted his first full-time job in filtration. This led to becoming a brewer in 2012 and the pilot brewer at Public Taps in 2017. From there, he began to shift into management and was recently promoted to brewmaster. Welcome to the show, Dane.
Thank you very much.
So you are here to talk about Anchor Christmas Ale. Anchor's been brewing this beer for a really, 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 really long time. Extra really. So how long is really long, actually? So how long has Anchor been brewing their Christmas beer?
In this case, really long gets us all the way back to 1975 was our first batch of
that's long.
Ale.
I think that warrants like 5 extra reallys in terms of craft beer.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and that also puts us at number 48 this year. So
wow,
48 batch.
48. And each have a different label, correct?
Yeah, different label for every brew, different tree on the label for every brew, and different recipe for every brew. So it all kind of ties together nicely.
Okay.
I have a recipe question. Do you know what the original recipe was like, or are you not allowed to talk about that? I know it's secret. So I know
the original recipe. We actually started the first Christmas ale. This is something that some people do know. We've talked about it in the industry before. But the first batch was actually Liberty Ale.
Oh, whoa.
So
I didn't know that. And then
the first 5 years were Liberty Ale, and then 1980 is when we start to get into more of what people know of today as sort of the darker beers that tend to be including of spices and things like that.
Oh, that's interesting.
And then you spun off Liberty Ale to be Liberty Ale, and then it became. Is that how that worked?
It was kind of a co-release. Liberty Ale came out in 1975 as well.
Okay.
And I don't know the exact information, but I can guess that probably a large piece of that was working with the yeast.
Mm-hmm.
And just having a little bit of availability there and being able to brew Liberty Ale and then transition that as a Christmas Ale release at the same time.
Oh, I see.
When does Christmas Ale get released every year? Is it like October? When do you brew it?
We start brewing usually in late June. We're actually brewing it right now. We brewed a couple days ago. We brewed our first experimental batch for 23. But that's on a half barrel system. It's a really small, Sabco Brew Magic system. So we usually start ideating in December, January, and we try to get something really, really dialed in so that by late June, early July, we're starting to brew commercially. And then that allows us, we do oftentimes send it internationally. So we tend to sort of go from the outskirts and work our way back home by the time we're looking for about an October release. We used to have a little bit of a stricter kind of November 1st was the deadline, but there's always, the sales team is always interested in getting it out there earlier and earlier. And, it's like anything else in this world. It seems like Christmas decorations are going up in August. So we try to follow that with the beer.
I'm going to say I get excited when I see the Christmas beers on the shelf in October, and I like a lot of people do too. It's not like the pumpkin beers in August syndrome, where you're not ready to have summer be over. I think Christmas is an exciting time, and I think that's why people, I don't know.
I agree.
I get excited. Don knows I love Christmas. So how many batches, how many test batches do you do before you're like, this is Christmas ale?
It's a great question. We usually do probably at least 3. Sometimes, we're really on it with an idea and it's a little bit easier. Other times, we're kind of playing with the fringes a little bit and working more towards the center. But we also, what we've done since we've had public taps open, which has been about 5 years now, we oftentimes will do a 7-barrel batch there. That usually comes out around July. That's another kind of little secret. I don't know that everybody picks it up, but I oftentimes, when we release that Christmas ale, quote unquote, in July, I'll actually swap out. We have a neon light that sits above the brew house at Public Taps, and I'll put the Christmas ale light up while that beer is on.
What a fun secret. Wow, that's
so. And that
cool.
Oftentimes we don't include the spices necessarily, so we'll brew the beer without the spices on that system. But this last year we actually did include the spices as well. It really was Christmas ale in July.
What a fun sneak peek for those in the know. I love
Christmas
that.
in July too. I like that idea.
I love that.
How does recipe formulation each year look like? I know you do test batches, but do you just one day you're in the spice market and go, I want to try this, or from original idea germination, what does that look like?
I would say it's sort of similar to the ever-changing recipe. Sometimes it's easier, sometimes it's harder. The inspiration comes from wherever it comes from. For number 48 this year, so now we have to rewind the clock back to last year, January, when we were ideating that particular brew. Our assistant brewmaster, Ben, he says he was drinking a glass of Amaro after dinner, not too long after Christmas. And, we're both really big fans of that particular spirit. And he just really thought, wow, wouldn't these spices be really, really nice? And our now retired brewmaster, Tom, was also kind of having some rye bread around that same time. And he was kind of thinking rye bread a lot. So we kind of ended up with Christmas Ale 2022, number 48, with this Amaro and rye kind of idea. And that one came together pretty quickly and pretty naturally, but it doesn't always work that way. Sometimes it is. Oftentimes we start kind of with the malt. What do we want to get out of the malt and that portion of the recipe? And then we kind of go from there to adding the spices. So as an additional example, like the brew that we did the other day, we didn't include any spices in it because we have some ideas on that, but we're actually going to pick up some spices in the next couple days. And we'll probably just make some steeped tea out of those, and then we'll blend that into the beer. And that way we can kind of make sure we like the malt bill and where that is, and then we can add the spices on top of that to mess around with what we were thinking there. So it's a variable of many different things, but oftentimes food and beverage is a big influence on what the recipe is going to be. And we also try to consider, the last few years of Christmas ale and what did we like or not like, and how do we want to move on from there.
Is there a guideline set for Christmas ale has to be this percentage of alcohol with this malt base, or are you starting from a blank slate every year?
It tends to be a higher ABV beverage for us. That hasn't always been the case, but usually holiday time and these darker, bigger beers, there is a high correlation there. So we have moved the alcohol bit around a bit in the last number of years, but it does tend to be on the higher side, 6% plus, which depending on the brewery may or may not be on the higher side, but for us, that tends to be moving towards the high end of the spectrum for us. But anything's really on the table with Christmas Ale. We can have fun with it. It's the one beer that we know for sure we're going to be innovating every year, trying something different every year. The brewers love doing it just as much as the consumers love enjoying it.
So, is it a special yeast strain or do you use a house yeast?
That would be our House Liberty Ale yeast.
Okay.
That's what it's always been.
Cool.
That's cool. That it's the one beer. So and all the brewers, everyone gets a say. Is there like a survey like that goes out that's like, hey, I want to see this in Christmas Ale, or is it the beer there that everyone at the brewery gets a say on? Is I guess my question.
Yeah, we don't have a formal process, but of course we always have our daily tasting meetings and things like that that are often fertile grounds for those kinds of conversations. So, generally while we're drinking Christmas Ale throughout the season, everybody tends to put in their 2 cents on what they think and what they'd love to see. And, beer is always on the mind for us. So we're always kind of talking about those things.
It's very,
I think,
yeah.
I'm going to put my marketing hat on for a second here. I think for your 50th anniversary of the Christmas Ale, you should rebrew all of the historic batches and release a 50 beer mix pack.
all in tall cans too, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
That's the most daunting thing I've ever heard.
Yeah, that's for sure. That would be some serious seller work. I will say though, that's an intriguing idea, and perhaps something along those lines might have crossed our minds as well. So
all right,
we'll see. More to come in future years.
I would love that. That would be amazing.
Even
though the first few are just Liberty Ale, but that's fine. I love Liberty Ale.
Yeah, I also love Liberty Ale. So you have a different tree every year, and you've never gone back and been like, oh, we really liked that tree, we should do it again. It's always been a different tree.
Yeah, it's always been a different tree. It's a hand-drawn label every year, so it's always been a different tree. Fritz used to have a lot of fun, picking out which tree it was going to be, and oftentimes he and Dave Burkhart would go on walks and find a live example of this tree, and then they would bring the artist to the tree, and the magic would begin.
Oh wow!
Has it always been the same artist or different artists, or how does the design process work?
We used Jim Stitt for a long, long time. He did almost all of them, but he's in his 90s now, and he's in retirement. So we've moved on now, but he did amazing work for us all those years, and we really enjoyed it. So trying to find people of similar talent and desire, and we'll go from there.
It is truly a beautiful label. Like it really, exactly. When I think of Christmas, I think of Anchor just for the simplicity, but also there's something warm about it. The label represents what's inside the bottle, and that's not always the case with beer. And so it's always not to like pat you on the back a lot, but like it's really nice. I'm a big fan.
Yeah, we enjoy it.
Do you guys still do the magnums? Sorry, John.
No, you go ahead.
Yeah, of course we do. The magnums are something we're pretty committed to. I mean, there's so many emails that we get every year, and it's just great to hear all these holiday traditions that people have. It's great to hear people saying, "Oh, we always open our magnum of Christmas Ale on Christmas morning as our first gift that we unwrap and start from there." So it's about 4.5 pints in a magnum. So it's a perfect thing to start the day with there.
And how long have the magnums been happen? I assume it wasn't from the beginning, but maybe it was. I don't know. When was that tradition started? Because they are really beautiful as well.
Yeah, that started in the 80s. It doesn't go back all the way, but I believe it was 87 was the first year that we did those.
I want
Yeah.
to revise my suggestion, and I would like Anchor to release a 50-pack of Magnums.
Yeah. I think that's now we're working towards the gold here.
Yeah. Wow.
Obviously, a lot of work goes into recipe formulation from malt, from the ground up, I guess. And people can just drink it and enjoy it. And I love that. But is there anything that you would want drinkers to specifically pay attention to, like the way the spices interplay with the malt or the balance, or like what is something you feel might be underappreciated about that beer?
I would say probably, the malt bill might be the most accurate in that case, just because everybody does know the spices are in there and there's so much attention that's paid to that. So the hops and the malt, the more basic beer ingredients that we're all used to, probably get a little bit less attention than they deserve. But I think this beer in particular is one that people do really discern a lot out of it when they're consuming it. So I wouldn't say it's necessarily an unfair balance, but I know the spices often take a pretty big center stage there. So we always try to do a good justice on the malt bill, and the hops always come into consideration as well. So that's something that people can enjoy paying a little bit more attention to.
Right.
Can you talk a little bit more about what went into this year's label? Because I'm curious. I'm not gonna lie, I've yet to see Anchor Christmas on my shelves, but I haven't been to the store in a while. So I'm excited to go out and see it in real life now. But I'd love to hear how whatever tree you picked and how it went into 2022's beer.
Yeah, it's a great label and a great story that we really wanted to highlight this year. I'm actually holding a bottle in my hand here as I speak. So this year was the blue gum tree, which is a eucalyptus. And a lot went into this label because it's based on several of these trees that were planted a long time ago in San Francisco by a woman by the name of Mary Ellen Pleasant. And she passed away in 1904, but she was an incredible historical figure, that just amazing entrepreneur, had her hands in a lot of things, but abolitionism was her real passion. And she was really involved in the Underground Railroad. She grew up on the East Coast, but made her way out to San Francisco by the middle of her life. And she actually was a huge portion of extending the Underground Railroad to the West, and was very active in San Francisco during the gold rush. So she built a mansion that stood at 1881 Octavia Street. It's no longer there, but she planted her trees there, and that's, so you see on the label there's 3 trees and her mansion in the background of the label, and then the big tree on the front, the very typical large tree in the center of the label. But I've really enjoyed learning a lot more about her. It's definitely something that I want to find some books about. I mean, she was just involved in so many different things. She was arguably the first self-made millionaire of African American descent. And a lot of people also referred to her in very kind terms as the mother of, the mother of abolition in California.
That's so cool.
Oh, wow.
Wow. Yeah. Do the labels normally tell a story like that, or is this a new turn for Anchor?
This has been a new turn for us, trying to do a little bit more with this incredible asset that we have. So that was something really important to us this year, something that we wanted to kind of transition and shift towards even more focus on the label and the story and how we got there.
That's super cool. I for one, vote in favor.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Don, I second.
Yeah. That's
well,
cool.
all third then.
Wonderful. John, you have a question?
Oh, I was just going to ask, particularly with the Magnums, is this a beer people can hang on to and cellar, or should people drink it fresh?
It's always good fresh, but I think you can very much cellar this beer. I mean, we've been at Public Taps, we've been selling some vertical flights the last number of years here. I've always really enjoyed setting some of the Magnums aside. I mean, the Magnums do great because, of course, it's the same crown and same diameter on the mouth of the bottle as a 12-ounce bottle. But similar to barrel aging, spirits or wine or anything else, you've got that larger volume with the same level of oxygen ingress through that crown. So they do really well over time. And, especially with the spices, it's always a really interesting thing to watch those spices evolve over time and kind of blend in and out of the beer over time. So I always enjoy that. I find it's really fun. Love to have people over every year and do a vertical of several years in a row.
Yeah.
But I think it's definitely something I would encourage. Might not be for everybody, but I get a lot out of it, and I know there's a lot of other people that do too.
I think the last time, one of the times I was in San Francisco, I think it was 10 years ago, we were at a bar and they had a section called Ghosts of Christmas Past, and they had 12-ounce bottles dating back to 1986. This is 2012. And a bottle I think was $20, and my friend was like, I'll buy it for you, but I was under the weather, aka very hungover, so I said no thank you, save your money. But I always think about, man, I should have tried it, because I would love to know what that tasted like. And because I'm a big fan of aging and watching beer change, because I love how you get a 4-pack of, or like a 4-pack of anything, and let it, even day to day, beer is changing, constantly changing. And I love that. And so it's cool to see something go that far back, because that's not really a thing in the beer world now. It's a lot of like new next.
Yeah, fresh.
And you guys, and Anchor, you guys have both, best of both worlds, because you have new next, but you have such a tradition. And that's so unique in the beer world, especially in America. It's very, very cool.
I will go one step further and suggest that if people want to experiment with cellaring this beer, they should cellar both a standard 12-ounce bottle and a Magnum, because as Dane was saying, they will cellar differently.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Yeah. See, I just increased sales for you, Dane.
There you go. We'll take it.
Do you personally have a favorite
year? Yeah.
I would have to say this year. Last year it was last year, and this year it's this year. So maybe next year it'll be next year's. But I think the spice blend is absolutely incredible in this beer. I really find it just so nicely balanced. I think it's got everything that I'm looking for. The bitterness is right where I like it. Alcohol content's there and balances really well with that, with that nice spice blend. And I think it's an incredible beer. It definitely puts me under pressure for next year to try to perform at a similar level. And then I'm already thinking about the big 5-0. I mean, Don already mentioned his thoughts on that and what we should do. But
what's the ABV of this year's?
7.2 this year.
Okay.
Oh, okay. It's going up, because I think the last one I had was 7. So I like a higher ABV in a Christmas beer. Yeah.
Dane, you were on
I
a
think
personal.
We're all on that.
Just on a personal note, Dane, you were recently promoted to brewmaster, so congratulations on that.
Yes, congratulations.
But would you say that this vintage of the Christmas ale is reflective of you personally? Then I just like the way you described it, that the bitterness is where you like it and all that. Like, do you feel that this beer reflects you?
I do. This beer was largely Tom's work in terms of formulation, so it was kind of his last design of a beer before his retirement. Of course, I helped out, but he really had a big hand in this as his kind of final send off. So maybe he was echoing me into the future with his design of the beer. But I would agree with that.
Okay, cool, awesome.
That's I'm about to like put my shoes on and go get us. Is it a 6-pack or a 4-pack? I'm spacing right now.
I think it's a 6.
Is a 6?
Yeah, 6-pack.
I'm already like gonna put my shoes on and go get myself a 6, because they do make a handsome addition to the Christmas table. That's for sure. So anything else you'd like to
with I was just going to say they always go great with the foods that we're eating around this time of year too. That's always a big focus for us. So,
do you have any recommendations for foods, like what people should eat? I mean, I know Christmas has ham, and I mean it's great with ham, but is there anything food pairing wise that you'd like to give a shout out to?
Of course, I can't quite recall right now what we recommended this year in the paperwork that we have, but I think it goes really well with some of the gamier meats. I think the spice blend and the malt bill go really nicely with a gamier meat, but ham would be good as well. I think it's great with dessert, or just as a dessert. Kind of echoing back to that Amaro.
Yeah.
And then any kind of creamy dessert would be great with it. I think it'll top that off really nicely. Something that's kind of simple and well textured, and then you finish it off with this really nice frothy, spicy delight.
I love it.
My recommendation, I think that the Magnum size Christmas ale pairs wonderfully with the 12-ounce size Christmas ale.
With more beer.
Yeah. The first one pairs just as well with the second one.
Exactly. Yep.
I love it. Yeah, agree. Dane, thank you so much for stopping by to talk about Christmas Ale. Is there, if people want to learn about yourself or Anchor, where should they go?
Our website is a great place to start. And then we also just had our company historian, Dave Burkhart, released a brand new book, The Story of Anchor Brewing Company. And I have to say, I haven't gotten all the way through it yet, but everybody around the brewery has been working their way through, and we're all learning something new every time we turn the page. So that's another great resource. It's available on Amazon and a lot of local bookshops here. But beautiful pictures in there, and I think that's another great place you can go.
Oh, I was not aware of
and
that.
And then, of course, come by the brewery.
Yes.
Come get the information directly from us, where, Public Taps is open all the time, and we're doing tours of the brewery again. So those are another great place to go and learn more.
Exciting.
And look for the secret neon to know.
I know, secret. Yeah, go in July for this. Don, I think we have to add that to our.
I know.
We're every time we have someone, we're like, we'll see you then. And so now I think we have to add this to our travels. To go to San Francisco and twist my arm to go to San Francisco in July.
Exactly.
Although actually it's cool in July, right? You guys have weird. I went to a wedding in San Francisco in August, and it was like 60 degrees and rainy, which was lovely.
Yeah, our real summer starts in September.
Okay. All right. You won't have the Christmas ale on though, right?
Yeah, it usually doesn't last that long.
Okay, that's all right. I like the weather in July in San Francisco. I think it's unique because it's a break from summer, except that nice microclimate. So wonderful. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for your time, and happy holidays. And I look forward to drinking some delicious Christmas ale very soon. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Dane. Happy holidays.
Appreciate it. Always good to talk.
Don, I really want an Anchor Christmas now.
I want one in July, though.
Oh, well then, no, the best thing is it comes like in small bottles. You buy it now, or, I mean, do they have it in Canada? Did we talk about that? I don't remember.
Yes. Yes, Anchor is fairly easy to get in Canada.
Wonderful. So what you can do is get a pack or get one of those great magnums, and then you can open it in July.
Yeah. No, I will do that. And I'm going to have one at Christmas as well. In preparation for the show, I checked my cellar and I have 4 vintages. So.
Oh, wow. You're going to do a vertical or just kind of pick one at random? What's the plan?
Unfortunately, 2 of the vintages I have are in the Magnum, so I probably shouldn't do a vertical of all 4.
Fair, especially because it is high alcohol. That's exactly. Fair. That's fair. All right.
Do you have some Anchor at home? We can have them virtually together.
I've got to look for some. I went to my local liquor store this morning and it wasn't on the shelf.
What?
I was shocked.
You need to find a new store. No, I'm just kidding.
I probably do. I will look around and I will find some, because I did say that I would go directly to find some, and then I went and looked and it wasn't there.
So disappointing.
I know. I'll find it. And I'm going to New York as well. And if I need to buy it there, I can, because they'll have it in New York. So I will have one, damn it. So visit allaboutbeer.com and follow on social media at allaboutbeer. And if you want to support us and throw us a little loot, visit our Patreon page, patreon.com/allaboutbeer, to support this show and others. If you have any questions for the experts, email podcast@allaboutbeer.com. That's also the email for feedback, suggestions, or to inquire about supporting the show through advertising. Don, how can people reach you if they want to reach out?
I am at the Dawn of Beer across all social media channels, or people can drop me an email, don@thedawnofbeer.com. How about you, Em?
And I'm at pintsandpanels.com and across all social media channels at Pints and Panels. This show is produced by All About Beer. Visit allaboutbeer.com for articles, notes on this show and others, and to connect via the newsletter and social media. Cheers and happy holidays.
Cheers. Merry Christmas.